Their introduction, and this is a dear Republican sister, mentor, friend, and she is my predecessor. She is past president of the Oregon Federation of Republican Women, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Joyce Waggoner to you. But before I do, I want to tell you a little bit about Joyce. Joyce has 3 grown children. She's been married this past summer to her husband, Don, for 40 years. She comes from the state of Missouri. That's my South Dakota twang. And she calls it Missouri. So she has been involved in politics for over 30 years. She was appointed by the governor of Missouri, Governor John Ashcroft, to serve on the Youth Services Board. Now that's quite an honor, ladies. I don't have anything like that in my background, so not that it matters. So welcome our past president, Joyce Waggoner.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. The women of today are the thoughts of their mothers and grandmothers, embodied and made alive. They are active, capable, determined, and bound to win. They have many generations behind them. Millions of women, dead and gone, are speaking through us today. Now, when Matilda Jocelyn Gage, the founder and editor of the National Citizens Ballot Box 1889, wrote that statement in her article for her newspaper, she did not realize how true it would be for today as it was in 1889. Abigail Scott Duniway and the women of Oregon believed that women deserved the right to vote. So in November of 1872, 4 Portland women, Abigail Scott Duniway, Mary Beatty, an African American, Maria Hindi, and Mrs. M.A. Lambert, in concert with women in other states, cast their votes in the election based on the 14th Amendment, which defines citizenship and the right to vote. The election judge did not count their ballots. He took them and he placed them under the ballot box. That action brought about the Oregon State Equal Suffrage Association. Now in 1884, the women's suffrage was on the ballot for the first time, and they lost 72% of the vote against it. In 1990 was the second time, and it lost with 52% against it. The third was in 1906, and again it lost with 56 against it. The fourth try was even worse, ladies. They only received 39% of the vote. And in 1910, the women's suffrage lost again, receiving only 37% of the vote. Abigail Scott Duniway and the women of Oregon did not give up. Abigail will always be remembered as the mother of equal suffrage and the pioneer women's suffragist of the great Northwest. She devoted over 40 years to the cause of women's rights. She felt honored when Governor Oswald West asked her to write the Oregon Suffrage Proclamation of 1912. It passed November 5th, 1912, gaining 52% of the vote and gave women in Oregon the right to vote. We are very fortunate in Oregon and across the great country for the legacy left behind by these brave, determined women who led the way. Thank goodness for the strong women who raised those brave men who are willing to stand up and be counted for women's voices to be heard by the right to vote. The insight of men and women working together with equal voice preserves our freedoms. I would like to leave you with a quote from Abigail Duniway. The young women of today, free to study, to speak, to write, to choose their occupation, should remember that every inch of freedom was bought for them at a great price. It is for them to show their gratitude by helping onward the reforms of their own times and the truth still, and spread the light of freedom and truth still wider. The debt of each generation owes to the past. It must be paid to the future. Abigail Duniway was a pioneer for women's rights, as well as the other ladies of the Oregon State Equal Suffrage Association, and what an awesome legacy, ladies, they left behind for all of us. We all know that the right to vote was hard-won. It was a freedom that should not be taken lightly. Voting is a way to have your voice heard and to be a part of shaping our government. Thank goodness for all the Abigails of the past, as well as those of the future. It is your job and mine to continue that legacy. May God bless you in this great country. Thank you.